Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome over to CDT Sports. This is Chris,
And I'm Dan.
and we're going to be talking about the Ravens and Commanders right after this.
So, yeah, like Chris said, today we're going to talk primarily about the Baltimore Ravens, the Washington Commanders. We decided as a team that we're going to try to move forward by focusing more so on those teams. Once the regular NFL season starts, we'll talk more about other teams, and again, we'll talk about the mock drafts and the actual draft, things like that. But we decided that moving forward, we want to primarily focus on the DC area sports.
Yeah, that's correct. And it gives us a little bit more time to focus on what our teams need and what's going on with them because both teams are just in it right now, man. They are just having a time.
They got some interesting things going on, but actually, and Chris, I didn't mention this to you before we started recording, but baseball season started, I think, yesterday or the day before.
Okay, nice.
Yep. And so, remind me, are you an Orioles fan as well? Because,
That's what I say I am, yes.
yeah, I know, so neither one of us are as into baseball as other people. I think I'm more into it than you are.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I know a little bit more about baseball. I've been to a couple of games. I've seen the Angels play live. I've seen the Cincinnati Reds, but I consider myself to be a Nationals fan as well as an Orioles fan. It's kind of a joke with me and my wife. She's the Commanders fan, I'm the Ravens fan, whereas she's the Orioles fan, I'm the Nats fan. So we kind of
You
switched
just
it,
flip flop.
but we like them both.
That's pretty.
I went to a Nats game and an Orioles game last summer. That was fun, except for the heat. So, but
That's how it was. We went to watch Baltimore versus Pittsburgh, and the heat was almost unbearable. I
I
was
think
wearing
that's
because I like the all black jerseys, so I was wearing solid all black all the way through, and I was like, man, it is getting warm.
wait, was this football or baseball?
Football,
When I saw the Orioles last summer, they were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, I'm pretty sure, and then the Nationals were playing the Phillies.
nice.
But again, we like baseball. I kind of am not as passionate about like there's more teams I like than teams I dislike. There's not really a team I dislike in baseball except for the Astros, just to be honest with you. So
No, that's fair. There's no teams I dislike in baseball because I don't watch it enough to be personal. Gonna start here soon, watching it a little bit more, maybe start catching like highlights every now and then.
it's
But
fun to
I'm
watch.
way
And
more into football than I am in anything else.
oh yeah, baseball is nice to just bring the kids, have fun. Whereas football has more of the fans that are obviously enjoying adult beverages. But baseball is also
Yeah.
just fun to turn on in the background, because they play games like every day or every other day for like 3 or 4 months, 5 months, something like that. I don't know, like the pitchers, they have like three different or four different pitchers they switch in. And I can understand why.
Oh, I could 100% understand why on that. Your arm would probably wear out immediately.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like
90-mile-per-hour fastballs.
I feel like if I ever played football, I'd be a running back because like I like throwing footballs, but I don't think I could give them the power that would be necessary.
So, quarterback's cool because you get to kind of be the pioneer of the offense and you get to see everything that's going on. I played power running back slash fullback and defensive tackle. Don't know how I played any type of running position, but we did it, guys.
I
Um,
feel like because I was skinny-ish my senior year of high school and my junior year, so potentially I could have done running back. I know wide
uh,
receiver maybe.
Cornerback, wide receiver, I could totally see that, or even putting you out at tight end
Oh
for
yeah,
like some smaller stuff.
that's what my wife says too. I could be a tight end, but I got bad knees already, and I'm not even 30. So anyway, to get back on topic, yeah, we're gonna pay a little bit of attention to the Orioles and the Nats this year. Obviously, we don't have the time nor the bandwidth to watch every single game, but we'll keep up the track. From what I know about the Nationals, they won a World Series 2019. I watched that, I remember, and they're kind of in a rebuild mode. And I believe the owner might have recently either passed away or sold the team, so they're kind of in a big rebuild. Whereas the Orioles, they were in a really bad situation for a couple years, and then I think either they got a new GM or something, but they're on the up and up. Like they almost made the playoffs last year as a wild card. So here's hoping.
And I think they had a big trade happen like at the end of the season, didn't they?
For
Or
sure.
right before the season began, and they lost one of their key players, or he didn't want to play for them, or something like that. Maybe
I'm not sure about the Orioles, but I do know that the Nats lost Juan Soto to San Diego.
that might have been what it is. Because
I'm
I
pretty
some of the guys
positive.
I work with will tell me stuff every now and then.
Well, at any rate, let's get back to football. So, Chris, you want to kind of start us off here?
No, because sad news. Guys, who would have seen that Lamar wants to be traded after not being appreciated by the Ravens? I love my team. We love them, but God, I feel like they're fumbling the situation away. I think it's gone too far where it's not going to be mendable at this point. And I think the Ravens are going to be dealing with either someone having to play while we're still paying Lamar on while he's sitting out, and we're going to be having like some backup quarterback in there that doesn't belong back there.
Hmm.
Tyler Huntley, I'd be cool seeing the whole season with him. I mean, if that's the case, that's the case. But
My initial reaction, if you saw my face when you said that, was like probably not. I feel like if we're gonna lose Lamar, let's get a quarterback.
oh,
It
absolutely,
might not be a top quarterback. Obviously, if like Will Levis and CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, they're all gone, but we'll see. Now again, I feel like honestly the best scenario at this point is either Houston or the Colts trade us their spots and we give them Lamar, but that's just we'll see what
yeah.
happens.
Let's bring that up. Best case scenarios, I think, would be the Colts or Houston giving up their first round picks for Lamar. I've heard that Houston doesn't want to because they think Lamar has more risks than Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm. I don't so I completely understand his way of thinking, which is Deshaun Watson got this much money. I'm better than Deshaun Watson. I
Yeah.
deserve more money. I get that. My thing is nobody should be getting 250 million guaranteed because didn't and I
Besides
feel like
Mahomes.
well Mahomes kind of deserves it, but
Yeah.
okay, so kind of I'm kind of being hypocritical there, but
Well,
did
no, you're not being hypocritical on that because Mahomes has gotten two Super Bowls so far. So I think you're absolutely correct on that.
yeah, yeah. I think he's proved his weight.
Mm-hmm.
But when Lamar tweeted out that the Ravens are not meeting his value, they want him to be their quarterback. Harbaugh has said it, DaCosta has said it. Obviously, put him on a franchise tag because what's going on is they're kind of saying, Lamar, we want you, but you're asking too much. So we're going to let other teams make a bid on you if they want, but you're going to see nobody wants to pay you that much. So I don't mean to be like this pessimistic, like I'm not a Lamar hater. I feel like with everything that I've seen, he isn't going to get, 250 million guaranteed. Okay, so you remember when the Ravens won their last Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
They paid Flacco after that. Was he the highest
Yep. They
paid?
had to.
Was he the
Yep.
highest paid player in the league at the time?
If not, he was at least top three.
And here's the problem though. After that, he didn't do that good. Tell me if I'm
Nope.
wrong.
Not wrong at all.
And they had a 5, 6 year deal on him. So he was stuck there for at
Yep.
least 2019, right?
And they waited until the very end to cut him.
I can see that they don't want to repeat that situation with Lamar, especially too.
Correct.
I don't remember Joe Flacco's injuries, but Lamar's gotten injured a couple times and missed the last like at least 4 games of the past 2 seasons. Am I wrong?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of with Flacco when he got injured was when he got drilled by Alonzo during the Miami and Baltimore game, and Ryan Jensen went to go fight him. That was pretty interesting. That's the only time I can really think Flacco got injured. I want to say he hurt his hand at one point, but I don't know how true that is off the top of my head.
Yeah. So the Ravens want him. It's just they want him for the right price. And they know that with him they have the better chance of winning.
Correct.
So personally, I just feel like if Lamar just backed down on his price or at least got an agent, things would be a lot better. But I also see the argument that the Ravens could have done this a couple of years ago, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about that?
Yeah. See, that's why I like doing this podcast with you, is because both of us are both sides of different coins. But like, I'm a big Lamar fan. You're a Lamar fan, but you're looking at the team perspective. I can do that as well. And I agree with you because the GM and me, let's say you're playing Madden, right? Which I know it's a video game, it's not real, like, but you're playing Madden. How often do you trade your star quarterback for high picks so that you can go get generational talent? I know I did that all the time in Madden, and that's just how I would rebuild teams. So I think it's a gamble. I think they don't want it to be the Joe Flacco situation again. I 100% agree with that. And I think that's where they're like, we're going to let the market decide. We're going to let them decide what you're worth. But I do think some of the teams are working together against them, which I think is a little ate up.
So, Chris, can you explain to me what this collusion is? Like, I'm not sure I understand like what I understand what a collusion is, but I'm not sure how it applies in this Lamar situation. Can you explain that to me?
I think teams are working together to not put a bid on him so that it lowers the market value for him. So I
Okay.
think there's certain owners that are friends. I'll give an example. I think the Patriots owners friends. What's his name?
Robert
Robert
Kraft,
Kraft is friends with the owner for the Ravens and all that. And I think
Steve
the
Biscotti.
GMs. Yeah, I think they all kind of know each other. So that's one team I can use as an example because how much better would the Patriots be with Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
100% times better. No offense to Mac Jones, seems like a great quarterback, seems like a nice guy,
They're
but
kind of leaving him out. They kind of left him to the wolves. Well, that's neither here nor there.
yes, but I personally think that there are certain teams that aren't putting in bids that should be putting in bids because they're either scared to because of conversations behind closed doors, or they've been persuaded not to because of conversations behind closed doors. But I will also say this: we all love a good conspiracy theory. I don't really put too much faith into it. I would say I'm about 35% thinking that that would be true. Not a full even 50% yet, but there's certain stuff that just kind of points to just being a little bit weird, and it's a little bit weird, like an awkward situation.
I could see like the Falcons owner wanting to wait until Lamar's market value goes down because you got to think about it like from a money perspective. Yes, owners have a lot of money, but still $250 million is $250 million. That's not chump change.
Yeah, no, it's a
So
lot of money, and you can build a lot of team around that.
yeah, I mean they just paid Roquan Smith 100 million for 5 years.
And that's kind of why I don't think that it's him being his own agent is an issue because Roquan Smith was pretty easy. I mean, 100 mil guaranteed or whatever it was. That's why I don't think that's too much of an issue. It could be that he's betting too much on himself, like a Le'Veon Bell situation. I want him to get what he's deserving of, but with Deshaun Watson messing up the market altogether, I think that's what's causing a lot of the issues. Because if it was just like a big contract like what Aaron Rodgers and them get, I think it'd be a little bit better. But you see what Browns gave him, and it's like, why him? That's what I should be getting. So I understand betting on himself there because I would do the same thing in my workplace. If somebody was doing the same amount of work with me or less, and they were getting paid more, it would drive me crazy personally. So I kind of get
Absolutely.
where he's coming from there. But with that being said, another thing the Ravens are looking at doing apparently is adding in some top tier wide receivers.
Which was going to be my next question. So let's just say, what do you think it would take to get Lamar to stay in Baltimore? Yeah.
I unfortunately think the damage is too far gone at this point. So I don't think he'll be staying in Baltimore.
Oh, I agree.
The Ravens are targeting top tier wide receivers, which probably would incentivize him coming back. I still think that it's not going to happen though, based off of him requesting a trade and the way that it's just kind of been handled. Harbaugh seems to be in his corner, but I don't know if it's just Harbaugh that's in his corner. But they've been targeting apparently Odell Beckham and DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, they just
I
got,
would be ecstatic for both of them.
who did they just pick up from? He was a former Patriot. I don't know where he was playing
Oh,
last year.
Nelson Aguilar,
Yeah. Like,
Drop City.
where's Rashad Bateman? Is he still there? Or like,
Yeah,
who's our
yeah, yeah,
current?
yeah. Bateman's still there. Bateman and Devin Duvernay are still there for as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, keep
And
Devin
they're
Duvernay as
both
a
better wide
return
receivers.
specialist. Sorry, what?
Yeah. I think both of them are better than Aguilar personally.
I mean, I agree with OBJ or DeAndre Hopkins or both. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Because obviously, he's always said from the beginning he just wants to win a Super Bowl and help a team win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I think if they put him in a spread offense like the new offensive coordinator would be able to do for him, they're going to see a big uptake in his skills and seeing what he can and cannot do. So I think what it comes down to is they're just not going to pay him because they don't want to put, like you were saying off script, all their eggs into one basket.
They can't pay
You
him so much and then not have enough money to pay other people to help him.
correct.
Like you can't pay him 250 million guaranteed and then pay Odell Beckham, like whatever 50 million
36 million, whatever it is.
for like 2 or 3 years. Now it could help
Yeah.
out in the short term, like it did for the Rams. And I'm not just using that because Odell, won a Super Bowl with them, but it's kind of like Do you
It's
want
hard
to
to build a team when you're handicapped by a dollar point.
exactly? That's a very good point. I don't know. I mean, obviously they've always been a run first team, and he's great when he's running. And honestly, like to be more positive, he has improved every year in terms of his throwing capabilities that I've seen.
Oh, I think he's a heck of a passer, to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
think he's one of the best quarterbacks out there. I just think the offensive schemes that the Ravens ran purposely hindered his performance, at least last year, because there is some play calling that just made me like, I think I could have called a better play.
do you think he got mad when they went for two against Pittsburgh and Green Bay in the 2021 season?
Nah, I don't think he got mad.
Actually, if anything, they would have put showed that they trust him.
Yeah. And that's what's kind of shocking about this whole situation. The amount of times they've put the ball in Lamar's hand to win the game, and he's won it a decent amount of the time. I mean, he's got a great winning percentage, and I don't understand what else more he would have to do to show that he's worth it to these teams. But with that being said, to switch into some positivity, put that man on the Colts. I think he would do pretty good on the Colts. Let the Ravens go after Anthony Richardson in the draft and let Lamar go.
I feel like we both agree. So here's the points in which we agree. Lamar is asking for too much. Do we agree on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second point, he's not playing in Baltimore next year.
No.
Okay.
Even if he's on the team, I think he'll sit out before he plays for the Ravens again.
And I understand wanting to bet on yourself. I completely understand that because someone was stupid and paid someone who's less talented than you and has more issues more.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That is a really good point because like if my company did that, I'd be pretty mad too.
Yeah, it makes you think of how you'd react to that because like I said, someone who has questionable manners at work, doesn't do that great, was on vacation for a long time, then came back and has just did a terrible job for the last year.
And has charges against them or had charges
Yeah,
against them.
it makes you think. That's kind of where the collusion stuff kind of makes a little bit of sense, where it's like, why are they giving that much money to that man, not giving this money to Lamar? Because Lamar's a good dude. From what I've seen, I don't know the guy personally, but just everything I've seen about him seems like a great teammate,
I've
heck
been
of an
like 20
athlete.
feet from him. Sorry. I
That's
stood 20 feet from him last time I went to the Ravens game.
awesome.
He
He
was on
just
the
seems like
field.
a
I was
great
down
guy,
there.
and I just think he deserves to get the respect. And I think that's what it all comes down to is it's a respect thing at this point. And I can't blame him because I would do the same thing at my own job. I'd
Yeah,
bet on
so
myself.
we can't we can't fault him for that.
Nope. And
So
I can't fault the team for not wanting to throw that much money either, though.
correct. So at the end of the day, do you think any team is going to pay him what he wants?
Yes.
Who do you think that's going to be? Is it do the Colts have the space for him, like the cap space, or
I think any team would make whatever space they have to for him.
I could also see the Falcons.
Falcons playing hardball.
We'll see. Let's just imagine that nobody trades for Lamar. We don't get any picks. Like we don't trade with the Colts. We don't trade with the Texans. We don't trade with nothing. We keep the whatever we have, 18th, 20th, whatever pick in the draft. And
Yeah.
Lamar stays as a Raven in on paper, but he does not want to play, so he sits. Who plays in his place? Because I think Tyler Huntley is a good backup, but I don't think he's going to be a great starter. So who do you think we pick up in free agency?
Tyrod Taylor. I think he would do good. Reasonable backup quarterback. He played for the Ravens for years. We loved him on the Ravens. He was loved by the team and the fan base. I think it'd be great to see him come back. I don't think he would do that good, and I think it'd be a bad homecoming, but that's just me personally.
What about Flacco?
Um,
That's what I was going to say.
I could see Flacco coming back. I would hate every second of it though, because I don't think, and it's nothing against Flacco, because he was an amazing
No, I'm
quarterback
just
for
laughing at the
that
way you
whole
said
run.
that.
But I would hate it. It would make me miserable because we'd be back to check downs and I would just cry. It's
Yeah.
sad. Did you hear that Baker Mayfield said that he didn't want to play with the Ravens? He rejected the Ravens
Well, I mean, he
when
did
he
lose
was
to them
given an
embarrassing.
offer.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Wait, how much was the offer? Like, was this recently?
Yeah. I don't know what the offer was. I'll send you a link to a video later.
Okay. That's interesting though. Well, anyway, we said we were going to talk about Commanders as well as the Ravens, but anything else you want to say about the Ravens?
They're winning the Super Bowl. Don't matter who's quarterback. All right.
Okay, so Now let's talk about Washington because look, one of the biggest news stories that broke out last year, as well as that is currently going on, besides Lamar and Aaron Rodgers and what's going on with Odell and things like that. The Commanders are going to sell. It's going to happen. I am not letting it go. I'm knocking on my wooden desk.
We're
It's
saying into existence. They're gonna sell this team.
We're not going the way of the LA Angels where the guy was like, "Oh, I might sell." No, I'm not gonna. I still got work to do. No, no. It has been reported that Snyder has moved out of FedEx Field. Like he moved out of the facility. He's gone.
Okay.
He wants a $6 billion payday because I think he bought the team for like 200, 300 million back in 99, something like that. I could be completely off, but he bought it for less than 1 billion, I'm pretty sure. So his asking price is 6 billion. And apparently, according to ESPN, there have been, and I'm looking at my phone to make sure I'm not misquoting this, there have been two bids by Canadian billionaire. His name is Steve Apostolopoulos. I probably got that wrong. And then he's the second one who made a bid. The first bid was from a group of three people led by a guy named Josh Harris, who I believe is the Philadelphia 76ers owner. And Magic Johnson was also part of that group, which is interesting. The two basketball figures made a move on that. But, I don't know who the third person was. And obviously Bezos is in there. I wonder if I read somewhere that like maybe he was going to sell the Washington Post so he could make a bid because he was not very kind to Snyder in the press, and Snyder was like, "I'm not selling to him."
I love the Cartman impression there. That was amazing.
That
Oh,
wasn't
that I
intentional.
imagine
It's just
that's
supposed to be like a
exactly what he
sniveling little
sounds like.
weasel. No,
That's
yeah.
exactly what he sounds like. I'm willing to bet. So, what's the future going to hold for you when Snyder leaves?
So at first, it's going to be like you remember Finding Nemo at the end of the
Yeah,
thing where they're finally out of the dentist's office. They're in the ocean and they reach their goal. They're in the ocean. Like Snyder's gone. Now what?
they're
It's
just
gonna
floating in their plastic baggies. I
they're gonna
gotcha.
they're gonna just yeah, it's gonna be an adjustment period.
I
Like
agree. Do
we're
you think they make
finally
any splashy plays?
we'll get to that in a second
Okay.
because depending on who the owner is, but the millennials and the Gen Zers who grew up in a world where Snyder was the owner. I think for like the only the first couple of years of my life was Snyder not the owner because he bought it in like 99. So that's all we've known. So we're gonna finally not have a reason, hopefully, to complain anymore. So we're first going to be like, wait, there's nothing to complain about anymore with this guy. And then after that, we're just going to, I guess the focus will be like, okay, so how do we improve? Because we did make the playoffs a couple times with Snyder. Now we got to get to that next level. And I think that begins with just, and I'm not saying completely like gut everything, but I mean a complete culture change. That means try to really just repair the relationship between the Commanders and the fans because Snyder was gouging them for prices. FedEx Field is a horrible place.
Yeah.
I'm talking a lot. What do you want to say to that?
No, I 100% agree with everything you've said. Every Commanders fan I have ever talked to has always said that the reason their team's bad is because of Dan Snyder. I agree, but what if they suck without Dan Snyder?
Well, I think it is going to be a couple of years of potentially just being in a hardcore rebuild. I'm sure that the new owner, like if it is the person who owns the Philadelphia 76ers plus Magic Johnson, they know sports, they know the sports world. I think primarily what Commanders fans want is a very, I'm not sure if this is the right word, benevolent or just kind of like absent owner, which is I think the point of an owner. We don't want like a Jerry
Like
Jones
Steve
who,
Asadi,
yeah, like I
hands
don't even know what
off.
the guy looks like to be honest with you.
That's fair. He's just hands off, lets them the GM handle what he's got to handle. Yeah.
Exactly. So we don't want like a Jerry Jones who's going to like override
No.
everything and pay Zeke whatever he got paid and then just let him walk a couple years later, which I feel like is going to happen to Dak in a couple years, if not next year. I don't anticipate we're going to win the Super Bowl like next year. It would be nice to win the division, get some I guess kind of a return to normalcy. Like, oh wait, the chaos is over. We can actually like I think primarily what the new owner can do is just build a better relationship with the fans, and that's a great start.
Yeah, really build up that culture and build up upon something that was diminished by the previous regime.
Like don't
Uh
send the cheerleaders down to
oh
a
yeah.
Central American country and basically have them perform services.
Yeah.
That's Yeah. Like if you've watched Urinating Trees, like video on Dan Snyder, as well as Bruce Allen, those guys are both awful.
POSs.
Awful.
To
So
put it nicely.
yeah, no, I mean, this is a pretty family friendly thing, but and even still, I remember like okay, so something I wanted to say too was I feel like Snyder selling is just going to be so happy for like the fans of the team who were there beforehand and actually saw them win Super Bowls. My I would be so happy and because I've already seen the Ravens win a Super Bowl in my life twice. Well, I watched I was like 4 when the first one happened. But anyway, I would be so happy if the Washington football team, whatever, if they stay as Commanders or if they go to a different name, whatever, if
Space
they
cadets.
if they win a Super Bowl in my lifetime, I'll be so happy. It'll just be vindication, honestly.
I'll be happy for all the fans around here. There's a lot of people who deserve to see that team win, and I just feel bad for them, and they'll be so happy when he's gone.
FedEx Field, you have to park either pay like more for your ticket. You
Yeah.
either pay more for parking than your ticket at FedEx Field, which also is a pain in the butt to get to,
Yes, it
or
is.
you park like an hour and a half away and take the metro in.
Yep, I know when I went up there for training for work, there was a Washington Steelers game. They would go to the hotel and they would all stay there. They were all like 45 minutes away, and they would have to take a bus over to the stadium, which that wasn't too bad. But then I've seen like people were like, "Oh yeah, this is I spent extra on this hotel for that," and of course I was just there for work. But I could only imagine the people who have to take the metro all the way in.
I briefly worked at a job where I would go into DC every day, pretty much. Getting there is such a pain, man. And I don't know if like they would demolish FedEx Field and go back to RFK Stadium for a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like I'm talking too much because like obviously I'm more of the Commanders fan, but I want to hear what you have to what like as the Baltimore primarily fan. Like, how do you feel about this whole situation? What do you see happening to us
I don't like Washington because they always beat the Ravens in the Battle of the Beltway games. So,
every time the Ravens and the Washington team have played that I've seen in the preseason? The Ravens win at least for the past like
oh,
several
regular
years.
season's what I'm referring to.
No, they won
Ravens are preseason champs.
the no the last time I think it was like the last year or the year before they met in the regular season. The Ravens won.
It's been a little bit. See, I think the game that always comes to my mind is the one where they had RG3 and the year we won the Super Bowl and they beat us. I'm still bitter that we lost to a bunch of backup quarterbacks that year.
Well, still won the Super Bowl.
Kirk Cousins came in and made us look dumb.
You were asking me earlier, like, what are we going to make some big splashes on players? I think
Yeah,
this
that's one
goes
thing I'm curious about.
well. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the draft. I feel like we've got good players. I think if anything, they need to beef up their offensive line, which I feel like they have. I'm going to go on their Instagram real quick and see exactly who they picked up because I know they picked up a few players.
Who's quarterbacking currently? Is it Sam Howell?
They got Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett.
Okay. I was trying to remember who it was. We just went over the free agency list not too long ago.
Well, it was like a month, and obviously, let's see. We have picked up a tackle in Trent Scott from the Steelers. We picked up linebacker Cody Barton from the Seahawks. I don't know much about these people. We did, yeah, Jacoby Brissett from the Browns. We got Nick Gates, offensive line from the Giants, which that's interesting. I don't know how much of a difference. Andrew Wiley from the Chiefs, offensive line.
I think he was rotational offensive line, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I just see offensive line.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's just something I think I'm right on.
We re-signed our center Tyler Larson. I don't know. Oh, his number 69. That's funny. We re-signed Danny Johnson, cornerback. I think Chase Young will probably, and he's still on his rookie contract. He deserves to get paid well, I think. They just signed an extension with Terry McLaurin. If anything, I feel like they would fire Ron Rivera.
Who could they get though currently for an offense for a coaching spot? Do you think?
Eric Bieniemy, because he's already like the assistant head coach.
I think that's what they're doing though. I think they're bringing him in to replace him, like maybe next year, the day before, and the day before, the
If
next
they
year or the year after.
they're not going to, but unless the Commanders win a Super Bowl next year, Rivera's getting fired.
Yeah.
It is what it is. He's a great defensive coach. We still have Jack Del Rio. We fired Scott Turner. Now we got Eric Bieniemy. So here's hoping.
hoping that I mean, because the league is an offensive league now. It's not a defensive league anymore. So Eric the enemy could make a huge difference there.
I agree. And
What would you do if Lamar went to Washington?
I'd be happy. I could see it. I
I'd be
think
a
that'd
little
be
jealous.
pretty good fit. I mean, well, I know obviously each team has a cap hit, like the cap hit, but I mean, I feel like the new owner probably would make a move. I don't know. We got
That'd
Jacoby
be a good
Brissett, who already
move.
is a veteran force, but who's our third string? Like besides Sam Howell, I don't know that they pick up a quarterback in like a second or third round again. Well, even Sam Howell was a fifth round pick, so I don't know. I feel like they probably feel confident in Sam Howell enough, but he's only played one game where he he's only played one game where he destroyed the Cowboys.
That's the one game that matters, though.
Well, yeah, but I just don't know. I don't know if that says more about him or it does about the Cowboys.
Cowboys or Cowboys will cowboy.
Yeah, I think honestly, what we need is time to build a better relationship with the fan base. We need to. I so let me ask you this: do you think they're going to change their name again?
Possibly. I think it really depends on ownership.
I was going to say the joke that happened, like everyone's like, it's the commies now. It's
Oh
actually,
yeah,
yeah, the it kind of does work as a nickname, but
it does.
I don't know. A lot of people were hoping for the Hogs or the Wild Hogs or like the Red Wolves, Red Hogs. Keep the HTTR, banner.
I like the Hogs. I was really hoping it'd be the Washington Hogs.
Well, I mean, obviously they got Major Tuddy now, which I'm not going to make a joke because there's like an obvious one there. Major Tuggy. Anyway, so it's kind of like you ever see that episode of South Park with the underpants gnomes?
Yes.
Step one, steal underpants. Step two, step three, profit. Hey, what's step two? So like, I
Don't
guess
worry about step two.
step one, get rid of Snyder. Step three, profit.
That's probably the best analogy for Washington right now.
It's like step one,
That's amazing.
sell Dan Snyder. Step two, step three, profit.
Step three, happiness.
Happiness.
Eternal bliss for Washington
Sell
fans.
Dan Snyder sells the team. Everyone parties for like a year straight, and then it's like, okay, now let's get serious. God, I mean, like, what's even an owner that's comparable, like, to how much he's disliked?
Jim Irsay.
Probably.
And whoever Houston's
I don't know who his owner is. Well, I know like the
who
Bears, the
it used to be,
McCaskies.
because he sold the original owner, the
Mhm.
one owner sold.
The McCaskies don't. They're not. They're not liked in Chicago. Aren't they fighting with the city to like make a new stadium?
It
Like,
would not shock me at all.
yeah. And I know that the Ford family owns the Lions, and people hate them too. It just the thing with owners, just keep your hands out. Like literally, that's the entire
Yep.
point of an owner is like they don't
You
do
buy and
much.
let your you buy, you put people in charge who can make your profits grow. That's what
Exactly.
it is.
And Snyder just throughout the years, and now it's just returning a Dan Snyder bomb and
If you're watching this, Dan, you have a good name.
exactly. But
I got you.
oh yeah, no. I feel like I've just separated myself from that because
That's fair.
like there's not many Dans in the world. Like, there what's that guy's name? Andrew Tate. There's a lot of Andrews in the world who are probably
There's
just like,
I think for Chris, I have Chris Brown.
oh no. Well,
It's the
people
only one
kind
I
of, I
could
mean,
think
it's not
of.
like people forgot about that, but that's not like that,
But they
that
did at
happened.
the same time. Way off subject, guys. But they kind of did forget at the same time.
Like, I'm trying to think of the worst Dan besides Snyder that I share a name with. Like, obviously, I'm sure there's like some jerk out there.
Historical figure.
Yeah, there's like some like homicidal, like serial killer out there. His name is Dan or something like that. So everybody, we were thinking of doing some mock drafts, but this kind of devolved into a longer conversation. So ultimately, I think so. We're in agreement on a couple of things here. Number one, Lamar Jackson is better than Deshaun Watson, and number two, he's not going to play for the Ravens next year.
Yep. And
And then,
hopefully Washington has a new owner.
oh, I'm praying. Like
I
it's
just
that
want one
thing.
present.
it's like, yeah, just every year, like when you have a kid or you're a kid, it's like, I just want this one thing. I don't care about anything else. Just give me this one thing, please. I'm waiting for Christmas morning when I wake up and it's like Snyder has sold whatever. I'm
You heard him, NFL. Give Dan what he wants.
give me Christmas in July. Well, actually, not July, April. Oh my, today's March 31st. Watch it happen on April Fool's Day, and everyone's like, "Is this what? What?"
That would be so perfect.
Because I mean, it's expected he's going to sell in like the next 1 to 3 weeks anyway.
I hope it happens. For all the Washington fans' sanity, I really hope it happens.
And for all the fans who saw the team like during their great period, you know, and you can argue that like they won Super Bowls like in league shortened years, whatever. You can put quotations all over their Super Bowl wins, but they still won 3 Super Bowls within the
Yeah.
span of 10 years.
Numbers
So
don't lie.
yeah. And I think just to see my wife and her father super happy at seeing that Washington win another Super Bowl, that would just make me super so happy just for them.
No, and I 100% agree with that. There's a lot of fans that deserve it.
We've already had the Ravens win a Super Bowl in our lifetime, so obviously it'd be nice to get more, but we've seen it happen.
Yeah, us Ravens fans, let me phrase that. A lot of the Ravens fans that I see are very, very needy. You better bring a Super Bowl every year, or else you're a terrible team, apparently. I'm just happy we win division.
Yeah, honestly. So anyway, that's CDT Sports this week. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit more of our comedic banter, but
Yeah, and if you guys like the style of video, make sure to keep it in the conversation going into the comment section. We would love to hear your feedback. And thank you guys for anyone who's been watching. We've been noticing the views have been ticking up. So we just want to say thank you guys for the support. You guys are amazing. Every single one of you guys.
enjoy some baseball, and we're gonna start getting more into draft season here because it starts in like 3 or 4
Oh,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah,
And we're going to have some mock drafts coming up here soon, guys.
absolutely. Y'all take care. Have a great April Fool's Day. And I don't mean that as a joke.
Peace.